Coming up on Mountain News this morning, one woman accused of murder in Leslie County is back behind bars after she was caught violating the terms of her release.
And we take you to Floyd County, where the retrial of a murder suspect whose conviction was overturned continues, now with testimony from the suspect himself.
And also in Floyd County, folks in some communities are growing more optimistic about the opening of a new correctional facility.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News This Morning.
Good morning. The time is 6:32 on January 30th. I'm Madison Program.
And I'm Will Puckett. Thank you for tuning in to Mountain News This Morning on this Thursday.
On this Thursday, getting closer to that weekend. Like we said, a lot of schools are out for sickness, so they have maybe a 4-day weekend.
Yeah,
how nice is that? We're talking about my 3-day weekend.
Some even have 5-day weekends.
Yeah, well, let's go to Brandon Robinson. Brandon, so it is starting to get warmer, so maybe that will help with the sickness a little bit?
Maybe, but here's the thing, it's just a roller coaster ride, so it's going to get warm and it's going to get cold again, so it's just back and forth, back and forth. So just cross your fingers and say a few prayers that all this sickness will get out of here in the next few days, but it's been back and forth all winter. Let's take a look and see what's going on right now across the region. Some blue still on live pinpoint Doppler radar, so a few flakes still flying this morning. Got a report of some drizzle down toward Corbett a little earlier. Thanks for that, and we're going to continue to see a little bit of a coating of snow over there at UVA-wise in the higher elevations there, not on the walkways, but on the rooftops and in the grass this morning. We're looking at temperatures anywhere between 31 in Pikeville, 33 up toward Irvin, 39 though in Jonesville, 33 also in London. So a lot of folks right there in the low to mid 30s, right at where it was this time yesterday in most areas. A couple of spots a couple of degrees cooler, some spots a couple of degrees warmer than it was this time yesterday. Your 12-hour planner, temperatures climb into the mid 40s this afternoon, which is basically average. Some peaks of sunshine possible throughout the day today, and again, I really hope we do see some, because seeing that sunshine would feel pretty nice as we head into this Friday Eve. Madison?
Thank you, Brandon. Well, Wednesday marked day 3 in the retrial for Barry Hall.
He is accused of killing Alan and Lisa Tackett back in 2008. On Tuesday, we heard 911 calls in an interview the day of his arrest. And yesterday, we heard from Hall himself about what led up to the killings.
Hall and his attorneys do not deny he shot the Tacketts, and WYMT's Connor James breaks down their defense.
Have a seat on the witness stand.
As Hall took the stand, his attorneys questioned him about the day of the shooting and his past. String recalling the shooting and the children's reaction to the Tackett's death is when Hall broke down.
But do you feel like, even though you knew right and wrong, that you couldn't help what you were doing?
The defense is arguing Hall had no control over his actions. Hall mentioned in court he blacked out.
The only people that you shot because of this uncontrollable anger just happened to be the only 2 people there that you hated. Isn't that true?
No, I didn't hate them.
The prosecution, on the other hand, says Hall's actions were deliberate. All 3 shots they say he fired hit the Tacketts, and that Hall was purposeful in what he did after, including picking up the shells and wiping prints from the gun.
You think that might have been what upset you?
I don't know what upset me.
Well, did that upset you?
I don't know what upset me.
Now, there is testimony scheduled for about 9 a.m. this morning, and after that, it's believed the jury will get this case. From there, they will deliver a verdict. A jury convicted Hall in 2012 for murdering the Tacketts, but in 2015, the Kentucky Supreme Court ordered a new trial. Justices cited pictures during the trial that were not needed for overturning the conviction.
A Leslie County woman finds herself back behind bars after violating her conditions of release. Alyssa Noble, who is facing charges of murder and assault after a 2017 crash that killed Paige Hayes, was seen Wednesday in a pharmacy in Hyden under the influence. In July of last year, she was placed on house arrest with a monitoring device, only allowed to leave with her mother accompanying her.
I don't understand why the monitoring company don't call or notify somebody when you've got people that don't do anything they're supposed to when they're on these things.
Noble was charged with contempt of court, public intoxication, and tampering with evidence after attempting to alter her drug test.
And we have new developments following the mass shooting early New Year's morning that injured 7 people at the former Culture Hookah Bar in Huntington, West Virginia. It was announced last night that Kimoni Davis is now facing a federal indictment of being a felon in possession of ammunition.
Yeah, nearly a month after the shooting, Davis, who is originally from Detroit, still has not been caught. All 7 victims who were shot have been released from the hospital.
And Andrew Colgrove shows us changes the city is making in response to that shooting.
After nearly a month, investigators are still working on tracking down Kimoni Davis, the man wanted in connection with the New Year's shooting in downtown Huntington.
I guarantee you over time, he'll be brought in.
At a news conference Wednesday, U.S. Attorney Mike Stewart said the hookah bar shooting is not indicative of trends he says are moving in the right direction in Huntington.
Since 2017, violent crime down, homicide down, robbery down.
Mayor Steve Williams vowed to make changes to make sure businesses are operating legitimately after Culture was found to be operating as a bar when it was not supposed to be. The owner of Culture, Sharon Harris, had previously pled guilty to a federal charge of maintaining a residence for the purpose of distributing heroin.
Those who are running operations that are nefarious, they're not welcome in our town.
The mayor says a new policy will require someone wanting to apply for a special permit to open a bar in the city to first apply for a liquor license with the Alcohol Beverage Control Administration. The owner would then need to show proof of the application to the Board of Zoning Appeals before the permit would be approved.
They come in saying they're having a legitimate enterprise, all as a cover for the illegitimate activity. And I really believe that this gives us an even greater opportunity to be able to prevent it from happening before tragedy strikes.
And Mayor Williams says they are still working toward implementing a new background check system for owners who intend to open new businesses in the city. Back to you.
Now, the Huntington Police Chief says his department has interviewed 24 witnesses, including victims, and served 9 search warrants. In addition to the new federal charges, Davis is already facing 14 charges of malicious wounding and wanton endangerment.
We now know the name of the person killed on Tuesday in a Pike County crash. State police tell us the man's name is Quentin Bentley. He is from Honaker, Virginia. Then what led to the crash remains under investigation. Bentley and the driver of another car collided early Tuesday morning on Route 805. The other driver was taken to a hospital. Their condition and name is not known at this time.
And meanwhile, we are still waiting for state police to release more in-depth information on an officer-involved shooting which happened about 100 yards away from that deadly crash. As of now, they have not released the name of the person killed or the officer involved. And Governor Andy Beshear's proposed budget was introduced to lawmakers on Tuesday, including funding for one project in Floyd County that many have been waiting for. The reopening of the Floyd County Prison, the Southeast Kentucky Correctional Facility, was announced last year. Since then, local officials have been waiting for the project to move forward. Now, with funding proposed, they believe good news could be on the horizon for Floyd County.
A few different areas that we were really excited about, first being the reopening of the prison at Wheelwright. Well, the prison is not just a local economic driver, this is regional.
Now, Judge Executive Robbie Williams says the 200 jobs that the prison would provide if things go on as planned are more than enough reasons for the community to be excited about its potential. Well, crystal meth is the biggest drug of choice seen in Whitley County.
But officers say new forms of drugs and one they very rarely see are heading their way.
That is why one department is adding 4-legged officers to their squad that can best detect those drugs.
WYMT's Hannah Reynolds went down to training sessions in Williamsburg to see the new officers in action.
Wednesdays at Williamsburg PD are spent training for 8 hours.
They're out here, working every day on the street. I mean, in our eyes, they are an officer, and by statute, they are an officer.
The first one for the day, Riker.
He will be trained in finding missing persons and cadavers.
They started the K-9 program 7 years ago, now to 3 dual-purpose dogs.
The dual-purpose dogs are dogs that are trained in narcotics, they're trained to track, and they're trained to apprehend bad guys. They are trained in a variety of narcotic odors, cocaine, heroin, ecstasy.
One of the biggest reasons they train so much, drugs on their way to Williamsburg streets.
The heroin we get, because we're so closely located I-75, is most of it is people from out of state that are traveling through. So we're not seeing that yet, and we know it's coming.
Which means they need all the backup they can get from the furriest officers on the job. In Whitley County, Hannah Reynolds, WYMT Mountain News.
Now, the Williamsburg Police Department just welcomed their newest dog, Thor, to training as well, since their oldest one, Vico, could retire at any time.
Well, the forecast this morning keeps blue on the radar, at least for a little while. Some snow flakes flying, but again, no major issues being reported this morning. We go downtown Whitesburg, and not even snow on the rooftops down that way. Across the border in Wise, at UVA Wise, a little bit of a coating of snow over that way. Higher elevation seeing some of that. A little bit up on top of Whitesburg Pine Mountain, too. 38 Middlesboro, 39 Jonesville, 32, though, basically from Logan all the way down to Somerset, 33 in Irvine and London there, kind of breaking up the 32-degree temperature reading. Out the door forecast. Some flakes this morning, maybe a little bit of sunshine at times throughout the day, but mainly cloudy skies as temperatures top out right around average at 44. Guys.
All righty, Brandon, thank you. And thank you for joining Mountain News this morning.
Here's a look at what's ahead. President Trump is taking a victory lap after signing a new trade deal with Canada and Mexico after months of negotiations.
And a plane filled with Americans who were in the Chinese city at the center of the coronavirus outbreak is back on U.S. soil.